The third episode of Marvel's What If has now been released, and what an interesting episode. Now, the first two episodes explored how a hero can change from one single decision. This episode explores how the story of the Avengers would have changed from one single act. Welcome, everybody, to the Chaos Multiverse. This is Jimmy, or Chaos. We break this down every single week. We are going to go step by step and break down What If Episode 3. Let me know if you guys enjoyed it. If you haven't seen it yet and you don't want to be spoiled, here's your spoiler alert. This episode explores Fury's big week set in Phase 1 of the MCU. Now, for those that don't know, the events of Iron Man 2 and the Incredible Hulk and Thor is what we're talking about. This week is known to the fans as Fury's big week, since these movies are when Nick Fury witnessed Iron Man become a better person in his second movie, and when Hulk defended Harlem against the Abomination, and when Thor came to Earth. So we start off the episode with the title card, Monday, where Fury, voiced, yes, by Samuel L. Jackson, and Natasha Romanoff started talking about the Avengers Initiative moment before in the scene in Iron Man 2 where Fury attempts to help Tony create the new arc reactor. As we all know, the original MCU timeline has Fury give Tony notes from Howard Stark so that Tony can replace the arc reactor in his chest, which is slowly killing him. We then cut to the inside of the diner where the scene plays out the same as it did in Iron Man 2 until Natasha injects Tony with a serum to counteract the symptoms of the palladium poisoning. However, in this timeline, Tony collapses to the ground and Natasha reveals to us that he has died. Yeah, that just happened. So then the Watcher appears to explain to the audience how humanity is so eager to face the impossible, but they miss the bigger picture. He then tells us that in 1 week, the humans had a team of individuals who would protect the Earth we know as the Avengers, but then reveals to us this isn't the case anymore. We then cut to Natasha being arrested by S.H.I.E.L.D. as they believe she is the one who actually poisoned Tony Stark as she administered the serum. We then meet Brock Rumlow, voiced by Frank Grillo, who escorts Natasha to a transport vehicle while Fury tells Coulson over the phone that he will be on his way to New Mexico soon to investigate Mjolnir crashing to the Earth. He doesn't know it's Mjolnir at this point, but you guys already know. In the main timeline, Fury leaves this task to Coulson, but because Tony Stark is dead, he no longer is distracted by helping Tony. Fury pulls Natasha aside, tells her that someone within S.H.I.E.L.D. put something in Stark's antidote, and asks her to check it out, knowing full well that Natasha can break out of her handcuffs anytime she wants. So then Natasha gets driven off, but takes out all the soldiers in the vehicle and escapes, all while Rumlow is complaining about Fury liking Natasha more than himself. We then cut to Fury and Hawkeye, once again voiced by Jeremy Renner, talking about the readings that they've gotten from Mjolnir regarding its powerful energy signatures and even the fact that nobody can budge it or lift it. We then see shots of Thor taking down the soldiers just like he did in the first Thor movie, and Coulson sounds the alarm. We then see Coulson finally get a visual on Thor and compliments his hair and how Thor looks gorgeous, referring to a running joke that Chris Hemsworth, the actor who plays Thor in the MCU, is extremely handsome. We then go to Hawkeye, preparing to fire at Thor just like in the movie. Only this time, Hawkeye shoots his arrow at Thor, killing him. You heard me right. Obviously, the reason why Thor was killed so easily is due to him being depowered during the first Thor movie by his father Odin when he was banished to Earth. Hawkeye is then detained while Fury and Coulson discover that Thor was not human and was over 1,000 years old. Big mistake there. Fury then enters the cell with Clint inside, but Clint just falls to the ground. He reveals that Hawkeye has now been killed as well. Fury then releases that Clint wouldn't kill himself and believes he was murdered and connects it with the death of Tony Stark. This is getting dark, people. Fury points out it's strange how Clint was murdered in a locked cell, but states that it was an alien corpse lying next to him, anything's believable. We then get another joke about how even when Thor's corpse is rotting, it smells like lavender as Coulson goes to sniff his hair. It's really kind of dark and morbid. We then get a cut to Wednesday, where we see Culver University, where Betty Ross, love interest of Bruce Banner, runs into Natasha. She refuses to talk to her, accepting Natasha to ask about the whereabouts of Bruce, but Natasha asks for information regarding the antidote she gave Stark. So upon review, Betty discovers that the serum didn't get out of the syringe, but a small projectile was fired from it. Natasha then asked if this could be the nanotech being used, which was a reference to Tony Stark's Mark 50 and Mark 85 suit incorporating nanotechnology, and Natasha goes to leave and notices a uniform for Stanley's Pizza, which is on the worktop, and inquires about it, but Betty acts defensive and tells her that's a student's and they must have left it. Now in the Incredible Hulk, Bruce worked at Stanley's Pizza as the owner is a good friend of Betty and Bruce. He even allowed Bruce to stay with him while he was on the run from Thunderbolt Ross. So Fury then calls Natasha, tells her that Clint is dead, which she responds with a look of heartbreak, but then asks Fury who did it. Fury reveals that Hawkeye and Stark's murders are connected as they both are on the list of candidates for the Avenger Initiative. Then, we cut to Fury's side of the conversation where he's standing in front of a big monitor showing various images of Tony Stark, Hawkeye, Thor, and Hulk, and we do see an image of a woman at the top left of the screen, but it's difficult to actually make out who it is. This could be Black Widow, but from the haircut, it looks to be Janet Van Dyne, who was the original Wasp when Hank Pym became Ant-Man. However, this could even be her daughter Hope. I don't know. If so, then maybe she became the Wasp earlier in the universe, which maybe Fury added her to a possible list of Avengers. Fury then notifies Natasha that both she and the Hulk are next on the list, so this secret assassin might come after them. Natasha discovers Bruce hiding in a closet, where we hear the voice of Mark Ruffalo return as the voice of Bruce Banner. The next scene is on the facility at New Mexico, where suddenly the Bifrost opens, Loki comes out, and his Asgardian army is behind him. Fury asks Coulson if they look like they're from Earth, to which Phil jokes, says they look like they're from Middle-earth. I mean, obviously, Lord of the Rings, Middle-earth, love it. Franchise, they took a lot of inspiration from various myths, including Norse mythology. Now, in this timeline, Thor was killed, which gave Loki the opportunity to take over Asgard, as he intended to do in the first Thor movie. It's assumed that Loki destroyed Jotunheim, realm of the Frost Giants, killed Odin, took the Asgardian throne, and among the Asgardian army is the Destroyer armor, as well as Lady Sif and the Warriors 3, who have all come to help Loki. Loki then states he has come to avenge his brother's death, and it seems that even in this timeline, Loki does care about his brother and does truly want to avenge him. Now, Loki gives his long speech as he always does. Fury's phone starts ringing. We then cut to Natasha, who is trying to contact Fury to let him know that Thaddeus Ross and his military are now coming to kill Bruce. Absolutely insanity right now. As the soldiers move in, we see Bruce and Natasha on the same bridge, and Bruce was where he hulked out back in The Incredible Hulk, not this time. The two scenes between Loki and Fury, Natasha and Bruce, occur at the same time. Bruce gets hit with an unidentified object, assumed to be a bullet, but it's in fact the assassin behind the Avengers' murders. Bruce starts to become enraged, becomes the Hulk, and starts to get shot by Ross's men. Now, Hulk does what he did in the original timeline, takes out every single soldier, but then we see the Hulk blow up like a balloon, explode, and die. Now, Loki uses the Casket of Ancient Winters to attack Fury and his men, but stops when Fury exclaims that waging war on Earth will not bring Thor back. Lady Sif stops Loki and asks that Loki listens to Fury before trying to destroy them. So then Fury and Loki negotiate with each other and settle on Fury going to find the man who killed Thor and the other Avengers, at least before sunrise, to which Fury agreed. So now he's on the clock. We then cut to Natasha at the public library to log into the Avenger Initiative files, but she needs Coulson's passwords. Coulson then tells Natasha his password is #SteveSteveSteve and iHeartSteve0704, which refers to Coulson's being a huge fan of Captain America, aka Steve Rogers, which was shown in the first Avengers movie where Coulson had Captain America trading cards. Even the 07 and 04 numbers refer to Steve's birthday. Now, as Natasha attempts to find the Avengers files, she clicks on the new files showing high-ranking S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, including Fury, Coulson, Maria Hill, Alexander Pierce, and even Janet Van Dyne, although Janet's photo has a cross on the photo calling back to her assumed death in the first Ant-Man movie. So as Natasha continues to look through these files, she noticed that someone who died 2 years ago accessed the database. She then starts to find the invisible foe, which she's pulled out of the darkness and seemingly killed off screen. However, as she is able to contact Fury on her phone, she gets pulled away. She yells, "Hope, it's all about Hope," which reveals to us that Hope Van Dyne, daughter to Janet Van Dyne and Hank Pym, is the key behind the Avengers assassin. Then we cut to Fury and Coulson talking about how they plan to stop Loki from attacking Earth now that the Avengers have fallen. Didn't even really ever get together. But Coulson points out to Fury that Fury is the last Avenger. He's the only one who can stop Loki's attack. This reveals to the audience that Fury signed his own name on the Avenger Initiative, making him the 7th member of the original team. Fury then tells Coulson that he isn't the only Avenger left and goes to his car to find Carol Danvers' pager given to him in case Fury ever needed Carol's help, Captain Marvel. But before Fury clicks the pager, he figures out who is behind the assassination and instead drives towards the Destroyer's army that Loki left behind on Earth and asks to see its boss. We cut to Thursday, and Fury goes to a graveyard near the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco and approaches a grave that reads Hope Van Dyne, beloved daughter, agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. This finally reveals the Nexus event of this murder mystery of an episode. The Nexus event was that Hope became an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. but died in action, which we later found out caused her father to go insane and driven by hatred towards S.H.I.E.L.D. Yep, we see Hank Pym appear from the fog, this time in an upgraded version of his Ant-Man suit, made to look similar to the yellow jacket suit worn by Darren Cross in the first Ant-Man movie. Now in the comics, Hank takes a similar path. He first becomes Ant-Man, then becomes Yellow Jacket, leaving the mantle of Ant-Man to Scott Lang. Hank's appearance has seriously deteriorated in comparison to the original MCU timeline, and this could be due to the excessive use of his new Yellow Jacket suit. We then get a few shots revealing how Hank killed each Avenger, and what he did. The syringe given to Tony and killed him. He knocked Hawkeye, which resulted in him shooting the arrow that killed Thor. He killed Clint in his cell, and he was the object that hit Bruce, and he threw a Pym particle disc to make the Hulk's heart explode, and he killed Natasha after their confrontation. Hank also reveals he believes Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D. took everything from him, his wife, his daughter, so he decided to take the Avengers from S.H.I.E.L.D. Fury asks why Hank killed Thor, as he was not on the list of Avenger candidates, but Hank tells him that Fury would try and recruit Thor anyway, which we know, in the main MCU timeline, he did. Fury and Hank then fight each other, with Fury having the upper hand and avoiding all of Hank's attacks. Then multiple copies of Fury surround Hank and hit him until Hank is suddenly frozen in place. It is then revealed that Fury was actually Loki in disguise, and that Fury made a deal with the God of Mischief to help him catch Hank. Fury tells Hank that S.H.I.E.L.D. is full of people who will risk anything to save everyone, and that includes Hope, and Hank realizes, well, he's right. So Loki and Fury agree to be allies, but Loki states that he wishes to stay on Earth for a bit longer. We then cut to Friday, where Loki arrives before the United Nations and reveals to the audience he has now taken over Earth, as we see various shots around the world of Loki's Asgardian occupation of the planet. Loki even calls back to his speech in the first Avengers movie and says, "You were made to be ruled," as his speech is being broadcast around the world. We then cut to Coulson and Fury beside the coffins of the 5 fallen Avengers, but Fury reminds us that the Avengers were meant to be more than just a team. They were a belief. They were a belief that in Earth's darkest hour, heroes would arrive. The Watcher then narrates over Fury finding Captain America beneath the ice and says he believes that hope resides in every universe as long as someone has their one good eye on the bigger picture, calling back to his opening line in the episode. This shows the audience that even though most of the Avengers are dead, as long as someone wants to fight for the greater good, hope still remains. We then see Carol Danvers standing beside Fury, ready to fight alongside Captain America to take Loki down in his army. Now, in the original timeline, Carol isn't called in until after the Thanos snap, but that is due to the fact that the Avengers were around, so Carol was not needed. In this reality, the Avengers have fallen, so Fury will need all the help he can get. This is the second episode, which ends on a cliffhanger, which allows for the possibility that we could see a continuation of this timeline where Fury, Carol, and Steve rise up against Loki. There's still so much in terms of the What If series, and we'll even get a second season somewhere down the line, so I mean, the possibilities are endless. And there you have it. That is What If Episode 3. Let me know if you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you thought about it, and I'll see you soon.